What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we dive into day 21 of our free-to-play challenge here in MTG Arena, which officially marks 3 weeks that we have since we have started this challenge overall. Pretty much the challenge has gone pretty good overall as a whole, I would say. You know, we already have a competitive deck. We have gone up pretty decently in our rankings for both competitive and limited, which I believe we're gold tier 1 and we're platinum tier 4 for limited. So overall, definitely pretty sweet there. We are almost level 20 on the Mastery Pass, but in all, that really doesn't matter as much, just because really the only things we're getting right now, because we're on the free tier, is only alchemy packs worth of Baldur's Gate, which I understand the packs are definitely not that bad because they help us out overall with our wild card collection. But other than that, you know, it's definitely just this process of grinding and doing things like that. Another thing I wanted to kind of point out in today's video is that we actually do have the Midweek Magic Historic Pauper event, which is definitely something that's definitely interesting here. I believe last week at the same time when I was recording this video, I was actually under the weather, so I was not able to do the one where they did the Phantom Draft for Baldur's Gate, which is definitely another fun thing to do. Practice some drafting, especially if you don't want to spend the money to draft. Having a free draft, even if you don't keep the cards, is definitely a fun way to practice. But this week's is a Historic Pauper event, which essentially Pauper is a format where you only play commons. And this is in the historic format as well, so you can play all cards that currently exist in MTG Arena in this thing that are commons. And it's definitely kind of one of those interesting, you know, events that they do. The prizes are okay. It's nothing super. You know, you get one random rare wild card for every rare for the first two, wins, and then the third one you get a mystery cosmetic, which, you know, it's usually most of the time just some random card art, maybe a card you own, maybe a card you don't own any copies of. But it's definitely a fun event to do if you're looking to just kind of switch things up and kind of get out of the same normal things of playing in, you know, just typical standard or even playing limited. This is definitely a little fun thing to do just because there isn't a dedicated like Pauper like ladder or, you know, format to play in outside of when they do these special events. And I actually think in today's video I want to go ahead and craft a Pauper deck, just because we are getting to the tail end of our challenge, and I know I have some currency to kind of spend commons, uncommons, rares, and mythics. And I think with our 3 decks, we're kind of already done with the commons and uncommons we would need for those decks, and really all we need for the rest of the Rakdos Anvil and the Dimir Ninjas are rares and mythics. So I do think I can go ahead and actually burn some of my common cards just because I have 25 of them and actually built an Historic Pauper deck. And I actually found a list for Historic Pauper online. It's one of those formats that I'm not very familiar with personally, just because I don't play it that often. But I found a pretty decent mid-range style mono black deck, which is definitely pretty cool. I definitely already own some of the cards, which makes the overall balance of, you know, crafting the deck a little bit cheaper, which is definitely always a benefit. But it's basically just like a slowly, like, you know, kind of slowly remove things that your opponent has. And kind of drain them out with a Dog Pursuit, which is an interesting card. At the beginning of our end step, each opponent loses 1 life and we gain a life, so it's just a little bit of a slow drain kind of style deck. You know, outside of that, really the removal is just Grasp of Darkness. It's a 2 mana, -4/-4 to target creature, and also Murder, which we got from the starter decks, which is definitely pretty sweet, and also Shambling Gas and 1 copy of Blood Fountain as well. And then it also has the Scavenger, which gets rid of things in their graveyard, and then we would drain them if a creature card got exiled this way for 2 life and we gain 2 life. So definitely an overall interesting deck, and it's definitely something I'm going to just craft and actually participate in the Midweek Magic event, just because, you know, it felt like it was a fun thing to do as we get to the tail end of our challenge. And I felt like, you know, participating in the Midweek Magic events are definitely something that a free-to-play player probably would want to take advantage of if they have the currency to do, like, you know, a special event like an Historic Pauper or something like that. I think with I don't know if it's on the weekly, but I know every month they usually do a list of what the upcoming Midweek Magic events are, so you can either click here, and I think you can actually click here and it'll bring up another webpage. And it kind of gives you an idea of what this Midweek Magic event is, and it tells you what the upcoming Midweek Magic events that have happened are going to happen. So, you know, last week, like I said, was the Baldur's Gate Phantom Draft. This week is the Historic Pauper. Next week it's Singleton, which is single copies of cards. After that is an Explorer event, and then after that is Historic Artisan. So definitely, if one of those things, if you want to kind of like, you know, take an idea of and see if there's any of these formats that either you want to, you know, experiment with or participate in, I do think it's kind of cool that they're doing like one especially for Explorer, because that is another format that I do think doesn't get as much love in Arena for the most part, even though they introduced it just recently, as it seems like they're more so pushing the Alchemy format for the most part, especially with the Baldur's Gate release. Still at least them, popping in some Explorers, definitely a fun format to dive into, especially even if you play with a budget deck for Explorer. You could probably still, get a couple wins just because it is just a format where people are probably just experimenting and just trying to get, a couple wins. And I'm sure you'll also have people that play really, really good decks nonetheless. But, with that being said, I am going to dive into the event. I am, if the games are interesting, maybe I will add them to the video. But if they're not interesting, I'll probably just show you the end where I win the games. And then after that, we may dive into a standard event. We may just dive into the rest of the games I need to dive into to get the daily wins done for the day, and save the standard event for tomorrow when I'm not doing anything super exciting. But the one thing I will do before we dive into the event is I'll actually roll my quest here. And we are back. So, it was a pretty okay day here in MTG Arena. I ended up just playing enough games so I could get 5 wins in the midweek Magic, even though you don't get any additional wins after the first 3 wins. But we ended up doing actually pretty decent on the overall rares we got. We ended up getting a Hullbreaker Horror, and I think we got an Old Sticky Fingers as the 2 rares from the event overall as our ICRs. And then I couldn't remember the cosmetic. I think it was something from Baldur's Gate, so no big deal there. But I just figured I'd do a little bit change of pace. The games are pretty okay. It is a little bit of a slower overall kind of environment just because you are playing with basically commons. But the one thing I did realize now looking back at it is I actually think if you just kind of look at mechanics that you have a lot of commons around, like from maybe even standard sets, they're actually surprisingly pretty playable in this event. I did get matched up against a deck that was a Connive deck, and it was actually really, really good. And I think there was another deck that I got matched up against, and it was playing a lot of enchantments from Kamigawa, especially the one that puts +1/+1 counters on creatures you control, and gives them vigilance. And then on the 3rd chapter, you get a 5/5 with vigilance. So that definitely is another deck that was definitely very interesting. So it's definitely kind of opened my eyes as kind of, I was maybe looking to like, I was like, oh my God, a whole bunch more cards I got to add into this. But I figured, I build a deck that kind of incorporates some of the historic cards, but, I could have probably just been better off just, incorporating cards I may have picked up through, the various jump-in events and other packs that I've opened, and could have just stuck with standard. So I do think that's kind of like a tip in case, you guys ever see one of these events pop up again, just because it is like a particular format, and especially because it's a common format, you could definitely dive in probably with any commons that are definitely good on the good side. But with that being said, 5 wins was definitely pretty good today. Tomorrow we'll hopefully get that additional, quest done. Hopefully we get a good reroll tomorrow on our blue-green quest that we currently have. We'll probably dive into the standard event tomorrow just because, like I said, I guess I really wasn't in the mood to play something really super competitive, and it was kind of nice that the midweek Magic was something just a little bit off key, which it's definitely one of those things. You kind of go into like various moods when it comes to playing Magic, and being restricted on what you can do with a limited collection. Doing something that is on the common side, not too expensive to really get into, is always a good change of pace. But guys, if you like the video, hit that like button. It definitely helps out a lot. If you're new here, you want to post new videos on the channel, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video. Just want to give a special shout out to the channel members here on my YouTube channel. You can also become a channel member yourself down below the video, hitting that join button. It definitely helps out a lot, and I just appreciate you guys for your support.